Okay, thank you for coming. I was just telling the ladies that I just got off 12 hours of yoga teacher training this weekend and a 50-hour training the 4 days a weekend before that. So I'm excited to share some of the things that I've learned and some of the things that I've reviewed. So what we're going to do today is we're going to have a really simple practice, and it's a great place to start. And it really is yoga for any body. We're not might explore a pose or two, but really there's going to be some mindful movement and some, we always talk about interoception and proprioception, where we are in time and space and where we are in our bodies. So I'm going to invite you to just settle in, and it doesn't matter where you are for this. You can be, because it's just going to be a mindfulness exercise. So I'm going to choose to support myself sitting down. And one of the other things I wanted to say about myofascial movement and yoga for any body is, if I'm doing this correctly and you're doing this correctly, everybody is going to look different because you're in your own body and you know your own limitations. And this is not about forcing your body to be into a particular pose. It's about feeling into your body. We're going to be exploring micro movements. And one of the things that I tell people is to come with an intention. And so I'll share with you my intention for you as you're watching this and doing these activities with me, is just that you will get exactly what you need and exactly what your body needs out of this session. If you just want to take a minute, and while we're settling in, really to any position, you can be seated, standing, kneeling, however you're comfortable, because we're just going to do a little mindfulness exercise where we're really first just checking in with the body and just noticing as you're sitting or standing or whatever position you're in, is there anything going on in your body right now? Any sensations, any thing that you would describe as pain in your body? And just to become aware of any pockets of tension or any areas where you feel like that needs a little attention. And so you have a baseline of where you're starting today. What's going on in your body right now? And then what we're going to do is just, I'm inviting you to search your surroundings, wherever it is you happen to be, a room or outside or anywhere. And you can just look around and search for an object or a color or something. Maybe it's a piece of furniture or a favorite mug or whatever it is, something in your surroundings that when you look at it, it gives you a sense of joy in your body. It has a feel good sense to it. And you might go from one thing to another before you settle on something. And maybe it's not an object, maybe it's a color or a fabric or a texture, but something that just brings you pleasure. And just sit with that. And noticing your surroundings, that right now, at this very moment in time, you are safe. I'm going to invite you to, if you'd like, to close your eyes. It helps you to draw inward, but you can leave them open if you'd like. And just begin to feel again into your body. It's generally easy to bring awareness to the breath. It's a good way to go from your exterior surroundings to your interior environment. Sometimes it's falling into rhythm with your heartbeat. Or just noticing the rise and the fall of your breath. Notice if it falls into a natural rhythm. You might feel the temperature of the air in the room as it fills your nostrils and fills your lungs. And then scanning your body, you can start at your head. And just noticing any sensations. You may need to incorporate some movement in order to get some kinks out. And if at any time you need to reposition yourself or get a little bit more comfortable, I invite you to do that at any time during this practice. So you continue to be in touch and in tune with your breath. And just noticing any sensations in your body. Again, the expanding and contracting of your lungs. You might decide to place your hand over your heart. And see if you can tune in to the rhythm of your heartbeat. Noticing even if there are external noises, just allowing them to be in the environment. And anytime you want to go further inward, you can return to the rhythm of your breath, the rise and fall of your rib cage, the rhythm of your heartbeat. And whenever you're ready, you can begin to open your eyes if you had them closed. And now just do another check-in with your body. Notice if your relationship with any of the sensations that you had earlier have shifted, even if it was just a little bit. And next, again, you can choose to stand or sit or adjust your position. I'm going to choose to kneel on a soft yoga mat, but we're just going to do another breath exercise and then we'll do something standing. So however you want to be right now, I will explain this to you and then we can just do a couple rounds. And just like with movement and positioning, the rhythm of your breath and the expansion and contraction of your rib cage is unique to you. And it can be triggering or trauma producing when we try to match our breath to somebody who has a larger lung capacity or who is maybe doing it at a more rapid pace. And when we're dealing with breath like that, it can cause an imbalance or an anxious feeling because, oh my goodness, when are they ever going to exhale? And so I invite you in this practice to find your own rhythm and find what works for you. Even if we're doing movements, it's always, you can try to coordinate with your breath, but maybe let's say you were doing a movement with your arms up and down. So it might be inhale, up and exhale down. And my rate of inhale and exhale might look like this. That might be a ridiculously long time for you. So again, it's an invitation to make this your practice. So what we're going to do with this breathing technique is just fall into a natural breath, a natural rhythm. And then at one point, just be a little bit more mindful on the inhale through the nose and the exhale. And you can exhale through the nose or through the mouth, entirely up to you. But you want to exhale fully. And then the next part of this is after the full exhale, you, as if you're going to inhale, but you just suck in and hold your breath. And again, you hold your breath. This can be triggering. I've tried to hold my breath as long as somebody who's guiding a pose before and found it like, oh, I need to breathe. So I invite you to just hold your breath to get the lock sensation in there. And then just return to a natural rhythm. And then whenever you're ready, you're going to repeat this maybe 3 or 4 times just to get the sensation of that lock. So I'm guiding you through it, but you're finding your own rhythm. So whenever you're ready, nice deep breath in, fully exhale, and then and again, you can return to a natural breathing rhythm and keep a pace that just feels good to you. Every several breaths, inhale fully, exhale fully, go to inhale and hold. And release whenever you're ready. It's just a little pulling in of the lower abdomen. And so you're locking your pelvic diaphragm and your actual diaphragm together. A few more rounds. Inhaling fully, exhaling fully, and then hold it. And what may happen with this exercise is you may notice, maybe even now, after you've done it a few times, that you're engaging with this part of your body. It's the pelvic floor and the diaphragm that you might have been checked out of. Sometimes we check out of our bodies in certain areas. I've had conversations with many of my clients about incontinence, situational incontinence. Again, I'm moving and shifting as my body is telling me to, and I invite you to do the same. And we'll talk about the pelvic floor and how Kegels were the thing. It's always like squeezing, squeezing, squeezing. But this is not a Kegels exercise. We're just squeezing. It's a diaphragmatic exercise, but what it's doing is it's strengthening your diaphragm, and at the same time, it's strengthening your pelvic floor. And again, sometimes we become so disconnected from areas of our body that we need to learn to reacquaint ourselves with the sensations there. And so hopefully you've experienced some of that with this. And so the next thing I'd like to do is just explore mountain pose, believe it or not, super simple So traditional mountain pose in yoga, you stand at the front of your mat, but I'm standing on the sideways on mine, is about planting your feet firmly. And they say the four corners of your feet, but really you've got 10 toes. And so to really think about just from the ground up, this is a basic, and again, it's a mindful and it's a micro movement exercise to look at and evaluate mountain pose in a different way. Now, also, if you are feeling unsteady, you can stand next to a wall, or you can have a chair or some kind of surface where you'll feel supported if you need that. So mountain pose, because again, we can play with balance just a little bit. So instead of traditional mountain pose where you're just grounding your feet on the mat, you can explore that. I'd like you to just spend some time exploring what it feels like to have all areas of your feet pressed into the mat. And so what I'm doing is I'm rolling around on my toes. I'm rolling to the outer edge of my foot. I'm rolling onto the heel. I'm rolling onto the inside of the foot. So I did that with one foot, and now I'm doing it with the other side. And so now, as I'm exploring that part of mountain pose, where my feet feel rooted into the ground, if I've really explored all the ways in which the surface of my foot can root into this mat, then my experience of my feet being rooted into the ground becomes slightly different, and I'm more in tuned to the connection of my feet, and I can imagine right into Mother Earth. And from there, just feeling the tensegrity of the body, and if you, the push-pull, which is what this whole fascial system is doing in our bodies at all times, regulating things, just feeling it, engaging my calves. And what does that mean? Maybe giving them a little squeeze, the calf muscles, just being aware, bringing awareness from the bottom of my feet all the way up to the calves, to the knees. And if you have issues with your knees, you don't want to lock them. It's not a forced position, just to have nice, soft, neutral knees. And rather than just standing straight in mountain pose, let's really explore a little bit of movement in the pose, where already we've moved around the bottoms, the full surface of our feet. One day we did a class and it was like toe yoga. We experimented, and you can try this if you'd like. I invite you to have all the toes pressed into the mat and then simply lift the big toes only. Can you do it, or do other toes come along for the ride? And pressing the big toe down, can you move the next toe? Oop. I can't do that one. And you can experiment with just lifting up the pinky toes. You can do it for every single one of your toes, or all 10 toes at once. Flexion and extension of the toes. Again, exploring mountain pose in a different way, really exploring what it feels like in the body. And then as we engage soft knees, sometimes it helps. Place your hands to bring awareness to these body parts. I had injuries when I was younger and have damaged fascia and restrictions back here that I work on, but it was a dead spot on my body. And so sometimes just the touch of a hand, it brings awareness to that area. So again, and if you're having pain in an area, you want to give it attention and be mindful that you're not doing anything here that's going to exacerbate that. So it's a gentle stacking, but a firm planting of the feet as we engage all the way up. And I'm constantly playing with motion as I'm doing this. And then sometimes I'm rocking onto the balls of my feet and backward as I'm stacking and imagining each part of my body becoming engaged, whether it's through touch, through muscle tension, and then imagining, and now I have crooked parts, my parts are not all straight, but I'm imagining right now that my hips are straight and aligned, and my tailbone in the back has a nice curve to it right here, not overextension, not curled in like that, but just a proper curve right here. And then engaging the muscles that we just engaged, the diaphragm and the pelvic diaphragm, from that breathing exercise, really tuning into that as we're expanding the ribs upward. And as we do this, pulling our shoulders upward and down and back away from the ears. Now the whole front body is aligned, engaged rather. And then you can play with the arms. Do you want to do arms overhead? Is that a safe thing for you to do? You can experiment and make this a flow of just raising your arms. You can raise them to the side or to the front. And this is one of those things that you can choose to match with your breath. And you might decide or feel in your body that you have restrictions somewhere. And this is another great assessment tool for people who do get myofascial release, which you all do, to say, oh, wow, you know what? When I was doing this, I'm not generally aware of this, but I noticed a tightness right here, or I noticed, and you just take mental notes, because we can either do some myofascial release in that area, or I can show you some self-care things to do. So again, these are just different ways of exploring a traditional yoga pose from a mindfulness and a micro movement based perspective. So that now, if you were to say, step into mountain pose, it's feet firmly planted, and you raise your knees, and there's traditional cueing. And in this type of yoga, my method is more of an invitational cueing, so that you can modify any session to match your body. So the other thing I wanted to do, because the base of our feet, the fascia in our feet is amazing, and part of the training that I'm doing is not just on yoga, but it's also very rich in fascia anatomy. So there are several different ways to do this. So I can invite you to do whichever one works for you. If you have any balls, and it doesn't have to be a ball, you can take a skinny pool noodle, you can take a yoga mat, a ball, a rolled up sock, or I could take my fuzzy slippers and put them into a ball and literally use that, because it's just a squishy surface that you need. Now, this ball I got, it was great. It was from some bongers that we use in massage. And these are awesome for this. So I'll demonstrate both. If you have a ball, if you need to get a ball, that's fine. Or like I said, you can just use a rolled up anything, pool noodle, a thin one. And what you're going to do is just begin experimenting with rolling that ball underneath your foot, and I'll show you how we can explore the bottom of the feet with our hands as well. And so this ball has a lot of squish, so I could flatten it pretty well. And you can actually use even a bigger foam ball too, like I give out to clients. And what you're doing is just rolling it along the foot until you find a tender spot, or you find a spot that just feels yummy and you want to sink in there. And this is great if you have a standing desk, and you can do this while you're working. If you're noticing some tension in your body, and you can just roll over that tense spot and then just sink in. You can do this, you do not have to be standing. The other thing is you can alternate the pressure of the density of the ball, but then also, like if you had a harder ball, you can also control the pressure. So if you're standing, you can have something like a wall or something you can lean against to take the pressure off. But if you're sitting, it's an even better way to do it because you really have control over how much pressure you're deciding to place on this. And so I'm just going to show you as I'm doing this, and you can do this sitting down. But if you have the capacity to rotate your foot and to have access to the bottom of it, then you can take your thumbs and you just go along the base of the thumb, the big toe, and then go all the way down to the heel. And just doing nice compression, just like a good firm hold. So you can do that. Now, part of me prefers the hands because there's nothing like, if it's me working on you, it's my fascial system working with yours. And if it's me working on myself, my fascial system is still interacting. Whereas a ball is a human, it doesn't have a fascial system. So it's a different, but yet when I'm doing it to myself, it's more passive with the ball, and that's in my book better, because right now this whole posterior chain is engaged in my body because I'm giving a nice firm grip. So if I'm just compressing on the ball, really I can just be like hanging out, and putting weight on my foot effortlessly. So giving both feet equal time is good as well. And again, you can sink down on any soft surface. It doesn't have to be. I could cut this into little chunks and just compress down on that. Pool noodles are great. I love them. And so you can do this standing, seated, or standing and supported. And again, I'm just giving you a little bit of practice now, but what you can do is you can take this and turn it into a longer practice. And like I said, if you're have the opportunity to do this and give yourself a break, literally give your feet a break, then when you check in with your body and you see, all right, how was I at the beginning? How was I after the breath work? And now how am I feeling after rolling my feet? And sometimes pains that are in different areas have now shifted. So it's can be pretty remarkable from just rolling on your feet. So 2 more things I'd like to do. And so if you need anything for Shavasana to get that set up, again, you want it to have it supported, and I'll just guide you through a quick relaxation. But before we do that, we're going to do some bees breath. And a lot of what we learned in trauma or pain informed yoga is based in polyvagal theory, and just ways to engage the vagus nerve. Has a very calming and soothing effect on the body. So doing bees breath, which is pretty simple, it's a hum on the out breath. And so I'll demonstrate it for you. And again, we'll do a few rounds, and it can be really calming, and you're vocalizing in this. You're all muted, so don't worry about it. But it's I'll let you experience it, and then you can have your own reaction. But what we'll do is we'll go from that to a supported shavasana. So you have the opportunity or the option to either do the bees breath seated, or you can do that laying down as well, or standing. But for our purposes, we will be moving into shavasana. So seated or laying down is really good. And what you do is you just breathe in, nice deep breath filling the lungs, and then you hum as you breathe out through your nose. Breathe in, hum, and breathe out your nose. And I'm just going to do 5 rounds, and I ask you to pace it at your own pace. And if you finish before or after, that's fine. Whenever you're ready, if you're not already, find yourself to a comfortable lying position. Make sure you're supported, whatever that looks like. You can choose to place a bolster or a blanket or a yoga box under your thighs, under your hamstrings, just allowing a little bit of pressure from your sacrum. You can place blankets under your head, under your feet. And just really allow yourself to spend a few minutes just to find a comfortable position where you're lying and you are supported. And if you're placing objects, whatever they may be, at different places under your body, you can experiment with that and see where you feel best supported. You can place your hands, if you don't have any balls, your hands or fists right under either of your glutes, just to have a little pressure there. The sciatic nerve runs through this region, so you're not looking to induce pain. It's only if you find a place that feels supportive. And again, you may have to experiment with that. You may place a ball or a bolster or a block somewhere, and it doesn't feel that great. So it's okay to shift it. You might decide to put a blanket over yourself because the temperature of the room has dropped, or your body temperature has shifted. As you settle in, I invite you to feel totally supported by your mat, by the floor. Just begin to notice your breath. Allowing your body to flow into a natural rhythm of breathing. I offer you this thought as you relax into your body. I am welcome here. I am welcome here. Notice how that lands in your body. I am welcome here. Noticing any sensations in your body. Feeling grounded and connected to the earth. Tapping into that energy of Mother Gaia and the heartbeat of the earth as it becomes attuned to your own heartbeat. Wrapped in Mother Earth's healing energy. Tell yourself, I let go. Slowly bringing your awareness back to the sensations of the room. You may decide that you're in such a sweet place that you want to just stay there. And if so, that's fine. And whenever you're ready, you can just begin to move your body in any way that feels supportive. Take your time. Bringing your awareness back to the room. Whenever you're ready, opening your eyes. Maybe doing a little pandiculation. A little stretching, like when you wake up from a good nap. I'm going to go ahead and shut off the recording.